This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 22.
And so at some point you have to make a decision. I'm going no matter what, as if my life depends on it.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 22, and today's special guest is Scott Smith from motivationtomove.com. Great episode ahead of you, so enjoy today's show. Hi, Scott, and welcome to the Extra Paycheck Podcast.
Hi, how are you? Glad to be here.
Scott, please tell me a little bit more about yourself and about your business. What is that you do?
Well, I do a lot of things, I guess, but we probably lead with our website, motivationtomove.com. That's kind of where it starts. But the big place that we start is our podcast, which is the Daily Boost on iTunes. We've been there, since 2006, about 8,000 total episodes. That has kind of led to lots of things, including speaking and coaching and training and lots of fun all over the world. And that's kind of what I do.
Awesome. I actually looked through your podcast and listened to some episodes, and I was blown away by that number, 8,000 episodes. That's just unrealistic. Well,
a little bit, but, a lot of it is time. I mean, I started podcasting in about, was invented, and officially was kind of hot in like November of 2004. And I discovered it in early January 2005. And then I jumped into it, and with just a 60-second podcast, and kind of noodled around for a couple of months. And then about 6 months later, iTunes added it to the iTunes Music store, and I happened to be added when they did, and then I jumped in. So we've had a lot of different podcasts over the years. The Daily Boost is is really the only one I do these days, but I've had at many times up to 4 different podcasts and up to 16 different episodes a week. And I just cranked them out every single day. Well, truthfully, actually, I cranked them out in one day in about 4 hours. So when you do that many year after year, it's easy to get over 8,000.
Yeah, but still, that's a huge number. And I'm at episode, but I'm under 30. I'm at like 20. I think this is a 22nd episode. And
well, listen, I've got one right now. We just started, which is episode 10 this week. So every time we get a new one, we have to kind of begin to grow it and to get people to listen to it. So I get you, man. I don't think you get good till you get like 25 or 30. To be honest with you,
I think actually more than that. I think because I do once a week, so I think once I'm past the 1 year mark, which is at least 50 episodes, I think this is when things will start coming together. And there are just so many things to podcasts: is growing the audience, the proper equipment, the proper editing, and all of that. When you're starting, it's unknown to you, and it's a lot of it is really hard to do. So I think, as you mentioned, even the figure of 2025 is still not big enough to really start getting good at it.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, we've when I started out, we had some shorties that I did, but my first long form show was 30 minutes, and I did the first 26 episodes. And I remember it because it was the first year. I just kind of finished. That was like half a year, and then I said, okay, I think I'm getting this figured out. And I turned around and I went at it again. I changed my format a little bit and kept going. But then I went in, I think about episode 66 or 67. That's when things began to click for me, because I fell into a format, I fell into a communication style that was working for me, and then it began to go from there. And once I settled into that, it's like, say, maybe episode 100, it's kind of stayed the same ever since. And now, of course, I've done so many, I just sit down and just do them, and a lot of them done.
Awesome. So I actually have a lot of questions now about the podcast and about Motivation to Move. So let's just switch to Motivation to Move. Please tell me what it is and how people could benefit from it.
Well, the concept is really simple, and I think if you study how people succeed in life, really we try to think ourselves out of problems. We try to get motivated, inspired. All motivation is intrinsic. We have to get excited about it. But people try to get themselves moving, and they sit down. Okay, I'm going to sit in front of my computer and Google a little bit, maybe get my Evernote out and write a few things, and I'm going to get pumped up and inspired. It's kind of hard to do that. Emotionally, it's very hard to get yourself in another place. Physically, you have to move. It's always easier. Once you move physically, everything changes. So when we started out, that was kind of the concept that we said, all right, if we can get you off your butt, get you to stand up, take a step, and repeat, then everything else will change, and we'll teach you all the other stuff in between. And that's really where it all began. And still to this day, most people that listen to me understand that, if in doubt, stand up and do something. Just move. Physiologically, it makes a difference. It generates energy in your body. And once you generate energy, your emotions and your intellect and your mind, they start to keep up with you. So that's the general concept of what it's all about and what we do every day.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And to be honest, I've experienced that at some point when I started taking a bicycle to a school that I was going to, right? Mm-hmm. And it was about 30-minute ride on a bike. And I would get there and honestly, I would be dead. I would have no energy left whatsoever. I felt like so tired. But about 20 to 30 minutes after that, after parking the bicycle, I would get this huge boost of energy, and it would last me through the whole day, actually.
Yeah, it works like that. And if you want somebody out there who's depressed, I mean, really depressed. Actually, let me take that back. Not really depressed. They just think they are. They're kind of down and they're whiny and they want to do something more with their life. And if you look at them, their physiology will say, hey, look, I don't feel good. They're all bent over. They're curled up in a fetal position sometimes. They're hunched. They just don't look good. And I tell you what, if you ever want to test this sometime, and I'm talking somebody who just is down, if you can get them to stand up and do something stupid, if you can get them to dance, if you can get them just to get up and take a walk, get them outside the front door, you'll be surprised how it just disappears and suddenly they see the world in a different light. I say, well, yeah, I guess my dark, dingy bedroom curled up in the fetal position with old, dirty dishes next to my bed is really not as good as this beautiful sunny day. and it just kind of kicks in and it just works at every level.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think Tony Robbins is one of the big, how would you put it? He often suggests that, or at least in his older books or older courses, I remember he was always talking about getting up and actually going for a run, going for a power walk or something like that to get
I studied a lot with Tony Robbins and worked with him for a while way back in the day when I was getting going. And it's funny, when I was giving you that example, it was from a Tony Robbins event that I went to where a young lady in the front row was just kind of pretending to be depressed. And I saw him do that to her. And then I went out and in tens of thousands of coaching sessions really around the world, I've had the chance to do it myself. And it just works. So even when I feel bad, even when anybody else feels bad, the bottom line is just, frankly, just get off your butt, stand up, and see what jumps in front of you. It'll be something fun, I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So, Scott, is Motivation to Move your main business right now?
Yeah, sure is. We've been doing, in the podcast world. I mean, I don't consider myself a podcaster. I'm a broadcaster from years and years ago. But I am a coach. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I do all kinds of cool stuff. And the podcast to me is a place that it's a channel for me. That's all it is. So when I started the channel, because it was obviously something I had a strength. Some people have a strength toward blogs. I don't. I have a really rotten blog. But, I do a pretty good podcast, and I stay highly ranked because of that. So it is my full-time business and has been my full-time business. I like to tell people I make, at this point, it's 100% of my living is coming from online. It's actually, I had to think about that because I think every now and then somebody sends me a check for speaking or something like that. But 100% of it, 100% since 2006 has been made online, and that's all I do. So yes, Motivation Move, Daily Boost, everything that goes with that is exactly what I do full time every day.
That's incredible and pretty awesome, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to be in your position.
Well, I mean, and they can be. You said at the beginning, there's a lot to learn, and one of the keys I just gave you was I'm not a podcaster. And the reason is podcasters are caught up in being a podcaster. And if you listen to any of them, and by the way, any podcaster that's listening to this program, you're welcome to contact me. And if you don't like me saying that, that's okay. We'll have a conversation. I'm just saying, if you consider yourself a podcaster, you're going to lump yourself into an unprofessional amateur group. That's who they are. It's by default. There are a handful of folks making money at it, actually driving a business and building a career off of it. I'm one of them. And some of them are in the industry and will call themselves podcasters because of that. But the vast majority are literally using it as a distribution channel to drive traffic and to drive interest to what they do. Mine is perfectly fitted in what I do. I do the same thing on the podcast that I do right here or when I'm on the phone with you. So, yeah, first thing, stop thinking about a podcaster and start being a business person.
It's great to hear that. And I have actually quite a few friends who have asked me, what is the point of doing the podcast? They're like, how do you make money out of it? And I usually answer, I don't make money directly out of it because, I don't have any sponsors or anything like that. But it's, as you mentioned, it's just another channel to share your information, and I think it's an amazing format because more and more people are switching from regular radio to podcasts simply because you could download and listen whatever you want and not whatever they push on you, right? Especially when you drive somewhere, or doing some chores around the house or whatnot. But I think podcast is a great way to get people to visit your website, to come to your business, to pay attention to you. And,
well, that's the easy. Let me jump in here for just a second. That's the easy way. And to be honest with you, that's the way most people are going to make a living with a podcast if you want to. It is a great medium to connect with your audience. And so if you have a business and you just want to connect and add another channel, because it's the audio channel. It's not video. It's not written. It's audio. It's very intimate. Mm-hmm. So it's a great mechanism to connect with any audience you have out there. And when you do that, when you connect, it becomes what we call an indirect income source, because people will hear you and they go, I wonder if I can work with him. It happens to me every single day. And that's one way to do it. Now, I started out, I a long time ago, I actually had a membership site. I have parts of it right now. I shut down a big part of it. But I used to say back in the beginning, I said, I'm not going to work twice. Why should I have to do a podcast and then have to work again to get paid? And so I was doing a Monday show and only a Monday show. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I charged people. And I charged $19.95 a month because it was a membership site and it was personal development. And we ended up at one point, we had about 1,500 members at $20 a month. And I made money right off the front of my podcast. And, of course, there were lots of other things that I tacked on top of that as well. I did real well with it. And then about a year ago, I decided that, okay, maybe I'll shift off a little bit. There is a lot of management that goes with running a membership site. And I thought, well, our podcast is big enough. Let's go ahead and get out there and see if we can get sponsors for it. So I dropped the paid site and went free 5 days a week. We went from 100,000 downloads a month to about our peak this year is 1.1 million. Right now we're about 800,000 during the summer months.
Wow.
And we went that way. And then I rolled it out for a few months like that. And then, one day I got a phone call from a couple of agencies out there wanting to try some commercials on, and we put them on and took some money out of their pocket. That was nice. And they did well. And now we've got, I think I responded to 4 emails this morning of sponsors who want to come on and sponsor our show. And what I do is we actually do month or a week or two, or sometimes I prefer a month. We have a month-long sponsorship going right now. And I just go in there and give them a month long, and they just own my show for a month, and they write me a big check, and I'm happy. Mm-hmm. That works.
And have you noticed the same people come back to you, or do they usually just do like a 1 month promotion and then they're done?
Well, we've had people come back again. I mean, it all depends on what you're going for. You've got a couple different kinds of advertisers out there. You've got advertisers who are like the ones you always hear, the Audibles and the Harrys and the Casper and those guys. These are big companies. They embrace the podcast space. They're going for an aggregate across the number of podcasts. So they don't need really, they're so big and they have so many millions of dollars. They're looking for a result and a response for sure. But really what they're really looking for is like McDonald's. They're out there just advertising everywhere. They want to be heard everywhere. So those guys are going to be hit or miss. Frankly, I find them a little bit hard to deal with. It's usually you're going through an agency to get to them. You're paying a commission for that. And, why give up 25 or 30% of your money if you don't have to? The other kind of advertiser you're going to find is more of what we call a direct response advertiser. Typically going to be smaller. They're going to be looking for something that's you're looking for a result, and they need to get that. Some of them are what we call PIs, per inquiries. In the internet world, that might be called, that's more like an affiliate program where, on a click you get paid. Yeah. I don't do that deal. I do cash deals. So I go find companies that want to come in with a sponsorship that organically match my audience, where I can get excited about it. We put together a value-added program. We call it NTR, non-traditional revenue, which basically says I am trying to figure out a way in and around my podcast to add value to this company, and then I give them that value for a certain dollar amount, and then they run that. So they end up doing okay, and frankly, I find it a whole lot better to deal with those people, because a company loves to come in and they know a spot here or there is not going to work. But if they can get me to wrap my head around it and make them a hero, then that's a good deal. So that's what I focus on. And it's, we probably have 3 or 4 months lined up now, all ready to go.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We're raising prices pretty quick. We some of these guys have gotten some really good deals in the beginning because I just kind of wanted to. I told them, I said, I not run ads before, and I haven't. Nobody's done these month-long sponsorships. I wanted to try them out, and so they got some really good deals. And what happened was, it worked really well. And the next month, prices went up, and they go up. And my long-term goal has been throughout the course of this year was to replace my membership revenue stream with sponsorships, but I knew it would take about a year to do it. So I'm actually looking for a top rate card by January because, as you know, and people listening, they charge based on downloads and cost per 1,000. And so we spent the entire year just building those downloads up. That's what we're doing because that's where the value is.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I totally agree with you with the fact that affiliate marketing is not the best way because, well, let's say you have your very popular podcast, right, with millions of downloads. And in an episode, you mentioned something like, well, if you need web design, you could hire the XYZ company. There's a link on my site, blah, 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 right? So people listen to it, and a lot of them will not click. But in a month, in 2 months, these people will need a website design, and they will think, I remember Scott talking about this ABC company or whatever it was called, and they just Google it, they find it, and they hire that company, right? So you do drive results.
Sometimes you miss the money, though, because it didn't come through you.
And I think a lot of time you will miss
it happens.
money.
It happens a lot. Yeah. And in fact, I had a guy, a company come to me recently, and they were trying to persuade me to do the cost per click and affiliate deal. And I told them that. I said, no, not going to happen. So what I do these days is if they just really want to do that, I say, well, you're still going to pay me cash up front, but then, I'll take a commission after that as well. And, and then usually they go away. Every now and then one will stick. I don't know why. But, it's not a great thing. But let me tell you something else, too. Here's where it does shine. If you have the type of podcast that is going to be resource intensive and people are going to come to you and they listen to you because, you've put it all together and you know how to do it and you've got all the shortcuts, you can make some money out of that because they're going to go to your site as a resource for you. If you're just saying, if you're kind of more general interest and you're just talking about, Bluehost or whoever we're talking about at some point, and yet it's not real specific and you're not the go-to resource, then it's going to be hit or miss. The numbers aren't going to be there for you.
Yeah, true. And I guess that also depends on the audience because, for instance, one of the first podcasts that I discovered and I really enjoyed was the Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn, right? Mm-hmm. And when he does some kind of promo for sponsorship or whatever, I usually go sign up through his link simply because I want to make sure that he gets that commission or,
sure.
That his advertiser sees the result that I came through his website.
Right. Well, and that's cool. And that's, you built an affinity with him and you want to reward him for doing that. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever, stumbled upon somebody out there that's got an affiliate link and you decide not to go through their link because there's something that doesn't click with you? Have you ever done that?
Honestly, yes.
Me too. We all have. It's like, I'm not going to give him the money. I don't even like it. Right?
Yeah. But see, this is the thing. When I don't want to do that, it's actually people that, like you said, that let's say I read their blog and there's something that really doesn't click, mm-hmm. or I find their content really bad and really targeted to just making me click on that link.
Yeah.
So even if I might be interested in the product, I might not click their specific link because I don't like them or because I don't like their content.
Yeah, I think it's real common. I think, the more savvy you are, the more you understand people put these, well, it's not a link farm, an affiliate farm probably. They just put them on there and that's how they're making the money. And I have no trouble making money that way. But in my case, I like to reward people who actually have really created and added value to the system. The internet is filled with people not adding value. They're sucking the value out of it. And so I tend to look for people who actually really, truly add value. They've lost sleep. They've worked hard. And they got a couple links on there. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to give you some money because I know what you're doing here. We need more of you. Mm-hmm. I think that way.
And what's funny? I actually started adding the FTC's disclaimers about affiliate links. I don't think I have to because I'm in Canada, so FTC really doesn't apply to me. But I thought it's still a good thing to do. Just let people know, look, this this is an affiliate link. I am getting something out of it. And once I started putting disclaimers, I actually started getting more sales and more commissions.
Yeah, it's legit. People like that. And there's so much about the IM space. Internet marketing. That's really kind of sleazy, man. It's not cool. Now, I don't mind it, and here's why. Because I think internet marketing is just like television marketing or direct marketing or network marketing, whatever it happens to be. It's just a different tool set that we use to do marketing of our value, of our services. But there's a lot of it that's kind of sleazy and not trustworthy, and the fact is, it really makes it much more difficult for the rest of us when those folks are out there. But those folks are going to be out there because it's easy money for them. That's all there is to it. They're not going anywhere.
That's true, and it's really upsetting. And I don't know when it's going to change, if ever.
It's not going to change. At some point, there's been lots of changes along the way that have made it more difficult. There's lots of people having to be compliant along the way, and you're seeing a lot of the software for service companies out there. They're just doing it a certain way now because they want to keep their business open. And people are getting kind of it's pushing a lot of the bad guys out. But there's some really I say that. Listen, if you want to be black hat, if you're really creative, there are plenty of ways to do it. But isn't that the way with anything else in society? If you want to do it that way, you can figure it out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And see, the thing is, let's say on my blog, which is kind of internet marketing blog, I don't really promote anything related to internet marketing itself, as in, make money, opportunity, stuff like that. It's mostly what I promote as an affiliate is tools that I use online for anything online. Let's say hosting, design companies and stuff like that. But I do also offer a free email course on starting an affiliate website, basically, right? Yes. And very, very often I get emails from people asking me like, look, I found your course and I really have to make $5,000 next week. How do I do it? Yeah. And that's what I meant. It's kind of upsetting that these kind of people are very, gullible and naive, and they will always keep falling for those bad apples, like you said, the sleazy guys.
It happens. And, is it, but P.T. Barnum, a sucker's born every minute. And good marketing creates more suckers than that, I think. Whoa, I'm going to do this. Listen, there's nothing we can do about it. All we can do is we have to, be true to ourselves and honor ourselves and bring value. And it doesn't matter where you are, even in the internet marketing world. I certainly have done that over the years. I've got products I'm not even selling right now that I've had out there before. They're much more, IM related. And I just got tired of the marketplace, and I just decided to move a little bit different direction from it. I just want to stop here and say in the middle of this program, Alex and I have not met. I don't know too much about you. In fact, you sent me an email. I said, okay, right, kind of it. Yeah. And there was no big prep. You didn't send me a bunch of stuff saying this is what we're going to talk about. You simply said, let's have a conversation. And so, I'm having a very frank conversation with you, and you're doing some of the things that we're talking about. But I just want people to know that there's nothing that's pre-planned here whatsoever. I think what you're doing is completely great, and I think because you're doing it with the right heart and the right attitude, with a goal toward not only making money, which prosperity should be number one for you, but adding value to the people who are coming to be your customers and taking care of them. That's what has to happen.
Thank you, Scott. And this is something that I've been concentrating on for not that long ago. Unfortunately, for many years since 2007, the main goal was money. Whatever I could do to just make more money online. And then when I started switching the mentality to how can I help more people and help them better, that's when the money actually started getting better.
It's a really odd thing. When you switch around to helping people and you just want to help and give them a gift of what you've learned, because you've worked hard to learn this, man, and then make it a fair price. Yeah. When you do that, people tend to come around. They come out of the woodwork. I was out of town for a couple of days, and about 7 days, actually. And when I'm out of town, I have all good intention. I'm going to follow up on everything. I don't. I just have fun. And so I got home here, and if you see my desk right now, I've got my big old Mac Pro and my iPad, my iPhone, and notebooks and everything here. And I've spent since 8 o'clock this morning following up on leads of people who've contacted me, and I'm not selling anything. They've heard me mention stuff, and they want to be part of it. So it's taking me all day to follow up, and then, it'll take me a couple of weeks to close it. But what happens is, in sales, we always want to just keep the funnel full. Whether it's internet marketing, whether you're selling real estate, doesn't really matter. You want to keep a lot of people in the funnel because one guy's going to buy today and another guy is going to buy a year from now. So you just follow up and tap them along and give them some loving. And, if they're going to come your way, they're going to come your way. And then that's it. Just wait for them to show up.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And there's also a physical product that I started selling not so long ago. It's kind of a side business project with my girlfriend. And sometimes we just give it out for free. to people that we meet, right, as a sample kind of. And I've noticed that when you do that, we don't ask them for anything. We just give them out, be like, look, like this product would be really good for you. You would use it. And then we end up getting emails and inquiries, and people wanted to buy the product, and they're all friends of that first person that got it for free, because it's people just talk about it and they're super happy and excited, like, hey, look what I got, and they gave it to me for free. And the friends don't ask for the product for free or even at a discount. They're like, oh, where can I buy it? How can I purchase it? Can I buy it locally, or could I get it online? And it's really, really awesome. And once again, see, it's not concentrating on money, it's just being honest and trying to help at least that one
this
person.
is one of the hardest things for people to get. I've coached a lot of people. Most of my coaching these days is actually focused on helping people monetize the online profits and show them how to get the funnels together and make that happen. I spent a lot of time also. There's a cruise that happens every year called the Marketers Cruise, and it's a bunch of internet marketers started by Mike Filsaime and Andy Jackson.
I've heard of it. I know what it is.
It's not Jackson. What's his last name? I forget what it is. Anyway, you know Andy.
Yeah.
The boss. Anyway. So I've been on that cruise for 3 years now, so I know all those guys, and I like them, and they're in my Rolodex, so to speak. And when we get there, people realize that I've been doing this successfully, and I walk and talk with the big dogs, even though they tell me, Scott's the only podcaster we know that's made any money. Now that's changed, but back in the day, like 2 years ago, I was the only guy, and a little bit different now. But what happens is you get folks who just don't get. They get the giving thing. But so they start giving, but what they have trouble building is that bridge between the giving and the profit, and that can get frustrating. It's really an art form to figure out just what to put out and just how to communicate in a way that people will come and compensate you for your time. Otherwise, most people never figure that out, and they write spammy emails, and they have some landing page that they stole from somebody, and they say, it'll work for him, it'll work for me, and it won't, by the way. And they wonder why they can't make the money. It's a really hard bridge to cross, and I think the only way to get there is incredible study. Just got to go through everything as much as possible. You got to cry for about 2 years. You got to stay up really late, work your weekends, and it's like any other business. You just got to go through it before it starts to click for you. It's it's very simple. There's nothing hard about this these days. It used to be difficult. I mean, these days landing pages, everything is easy compared to what it was even a year or two ago. There's nothing hard about doing this. It's just it takes time to learn about the stuff and what order it goes in. That's the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. We've added a couple things here. I like residual income. You mentioned Pat Flynn. It brought it to my name, to my mind. I like that a lot. So I always have different areas. Some are coaching, some are speaking. That's one-off dollars. We always like to have big dollars, and that's cool. But I like the residual stuff. We brought in some network marketing stuff about a year ago. And I'm having a good time with that because it's just, it's more just communicating with people, but that's leveraged residual income. And after doing it over a year, I mean, I'm one of the top guys in the company now, and I'm using my podcast and emails and all the skills I have to build that up. But if I take 2 or 3 weeks off, it still grows without me. And I love that stuff. And there's another thing that we're putting together now that I can announce it, in a couple of weeks from now. We got to get the deal together. But we actually are entering into arrangement with the same company that does the Sprint rewards programs, and among others. And what we're trying to do is give back a little bit, and we're going to create an app that's going to be a reward program for our audience. They won't pay for that app. It'll be free. All they have to do is open up an account. And there's about 4,000 retailers on that. And instead of having a reward card where you get like a credit card, you have to use a certain card to get what you want out of it. You can use this app. You can buy millions of items. You can get cash back. And when I say cash back, it's not a credit. It's cash deposited in your account. It's a lot of money. And so it's a really cool deal. A lot of people are using it. What we're doing is getting in the middle of it and white labeling it and offering it to our audience. And then we get a percentage of every single purchase they ever make. So, that's residual, long-term, forever income that's giving value to the audience in so many ways. And we just give it away. I'm excited about getting that in play. It's a pretty big deal to get it there. Hopefully by probably 2 months we'll have that in play.
That sounds incredible.
It worked out. I got so many listeners now that it made sense. In fact, we did the numbers on it, and we looked at the audience we had, and we said, well, heck, we're giving something away for free, and then they actually get money on top of that. That's a no-brainer. I can sell that. It's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lots of ways to do this, And so notice, it's not so much about podcasting. It's more of a mindset of how you how you think and what streams you put into play, and then being there long enough to figure out how to dial them in so they work for you.
Scott, I'd like to go back to about year 2005 when you started doing your online thing like full time, right? That was the year. And how did you decide? Because that's always a hard decision to make. How did you decide to just do that, something that was not very familiar and promising but not 100% sure, instead of just finding a 9-to-5 job that would make a paycheck every single week?
I've got a good story. You're gonna love this one.
Go ahead.
And by the way, I'm in it right now. I'm doing it again. I'm shifting a little bit, but let me go back in time. Motivation to Move started about a year and a half before. So we got on the air sometime in 2005, right in the early part of it. We didn't monetize until 2006, so we're at it about 18 months. And my wife and I were building the business and trying to figure it out. I mean, it literally was that. I had a message I wanted to get out. I thought I wanted to speak. I didn't know how to do it, though. And I was looking around, and podcasting popped up, and I said, hey, I can do that. I was in radio for years. So, doing audio and all that stuff was fairly easy for me to figure out. So I jumped in, started recording, and then it was like, okay, after, I guess 6 months or so of doing it for free, I was like, man, I can't do this for free forever. This is crazy. So what happened was I got tired of doing it for free, and I said, I got to monetize. And we came up with the idea of a membership site because that's what was popular back then. And so I said, okay, I can do this. And it took me about 9 months to figure out how to actually protect my feed so that if you didn't pay, you didn't get my shows. Well, we figured that out, and I was still working full time. I was in television and doing a lot of production work, doing some film work and all that stuff. And I was just kind of burnt out I wanted out of it, but I was still doing it because. So we finally got everything going, and Labor Day weekend of 2006, we launched it, and I had 30 people, I think it was, that paid me $19.95 to come in after I've been free for a long time, right? So 30 people came in. Well, that day, my wife hadn't been feeling good, and she ended up in the hospital that day. And in that day, short story here, but she got a terminal diagnosis of terminal malignant melanoma cancer on the very same day I started this. And so I could sit back and go, holy crap, what am I going to do? And it's kind of what I did, by the way. And but as we settled into this, we realized that, well, this was going to happen. I couldn't save her. And she'd have about 100 days. We didn't know at the time, but she lived 100 days. So I was just working on it. I was taking care of her, and I was doing the podcast and doing a weekly show. And that's really where this took off for me. And this is what I kind of going back to what we talked about before, where I finally got my groove. And I got my groove when that tragedy hit my life, because now when I showed up on the podcast, I was telling a real story that was compelling. And you notice today in podcasting, the best podcasts are stories, right? They're very popular now. So that's what I did. So I was telling this story once a week, and sometimes I'd miss a week depending on what was going on. And then she passed away. And when she did, I had some wherewithal with me, maybe because I was doing the motivational thing. I don't know what it was. But at some point, I said, you know what? I've got a window of opportunity here. I've been building for 18 months. I got the membership site figured out. A few people gave me some money. There must be more of them. If 30 people give me money, there must be more. And nobody's bugging me because my wife was sick, so they weren't bothering me. I wasn't getting calls from TV producers and those people. My phone wasn't ringing. And I thought, well, it stands to reason they're not going to want to call me for a while because they're going to think I'm going to be grieving. And I was. But I just kind of did this mental gymnastics, and I went, I've got a chance here. And so my daughter was working with me at the time, and I said, girl, let's take a couple of weeks off and try to get her head straight, and then let's get on this thing, get launched again. So we launched again about 6 weeks after my wife died, and I brought in 150 people on that one. And I put my head down, man. I got to tell you, I still remember very vividly sitting here at the very same desk that I had back then. And I would be crying. I'd be freaking out throughout the day because I'm just in such a bad place. And then I'd have to record a podcast. And I'd have to get my act together and do it. And then my about 6-7 months after that, I met who is my wife now, Joy. And one day I realized something. I said, you know what? I need more money because it was just me, but now I want to get my life going again. I need more members. So I decided to create a program called Start Moving, Stay Moving. And it was based on all the podcasts I'd done. I just kind of repurposed it. And I launched that and put me to 500 members. So I was up to now $10,000 a month within 6 months of starting this. So I got there pretty quick, but here is the key that I kind of want to share to point into your question a little bit more. And I'm kind of there now because as my business has grown, as I've decided to do different things, I believe it's a bridge. I believe, and all the coaching, I know this for sure, that what happens is you've got to know that when you're ready to make the jump that you can do it. That's it. And at some point you have to make the jump because you can't make a decision and justify it at the same time. You can't do it. So if you're trying to decide to go forward or back, but oh man, what if I lose my job and I got to stay here because my boss likes me or my wife's going to yell at me? As long as you're doing that, there is no decision that will be made. And so at some point you have to make a decision. I'm going no matter what, as if my life depends on it. I'm going. I'm going to do it, or you're not. It's that simple. And so, but to do that realistically, you've got to be ready to go. You've got to look at what you've done. Do you have the resources? Like say podcasting. A lot of people want to get in and do it fast. Do you know how to talk to sponsors? Do you know how to edit? Are you still using a $97 microphone that you got off Amazon, or do you have a pro rig like I do? What are you doing? And if you're a real pro and you got all the pieces nailed and you know how to convert and make money, it's like any business. You know, McDonald's puts you through what? 6 months of training before they let you open a store. So if you have gone through that and you can sit down and say to yourself, you know what, if I take the leap today, put my butt up against the wall and go, can I make it? Do I have a fighting chance of getting there? If the answer is yes, you go. If the answer is no, you stay. So I did that back then. And then interesting what's happened here now is there are some opportunities coming my way that are a whole lot bigger. They're very different. They're very leveraged things that I need to spend a lot more time on. And frankly, in the past 6 months, I've known they were coming. And so I've been setting it up. I've mentioned network marketing, this benefit program, these other things I'm working on. And I am at the point now where it's like, I have to let a few things go in order for me to get there. And so I've been chopping everything all summer long and getting it down to where I have just literally, not only have I cleared up a lot of time in my schedule, now it's like, well, if I don't get moving, I'm going to start losing money. And so the fire has been lit, my man, and off I go. And so I'm going to do it again. Yeah. And I will add, well, the goal is about $400,000 to my business in the next year. And I'll do it. I mean, I'm that scares me to say that, to be honest with you, but you know, why not? A lot of people make that kind of money. But if I make half, see, I'm not totally committed yet, am I? I'll be committed next week. Get back to me next week. Watch me go. Does that make any sense what I just said?
It does, although I don't agree with you 100% on this, like last thing you said, that, you know, you're either ready or you're not. And I think a lot of people, I think that's actually the biggest problem for a lot of people to start something or to jump into it. They do get ready. They do spend all that money on, well, let's say if it's a podcast, right? They spend money on all the equipment. They learn how to set it up. They, you know, how to record it. And then it's that fear of failure that kicks in. You know you're ready, but at the same time you're like, but what if I fail? What if no one listens to my podcast? Or what if nobody reads my blog? And you know, I think you might feel like you're ready, but that fear will stop you from taking that first step and actually jumping in.
We're in agreement. No, I agree with that. We call it fixing to get ready. You know, the funnest part of a lot of people just, you know, taking their time to get ready. But the funnest part of starting a business is getting your business card, setting up your office, you know, talking about your business, getting your corporate papers. Oh, that's so much fun. It's great. Look, I'm in business. A lot of people do that. And then a lot of people, back to the podcast reference, a lot of people do get good at it. And they spend all their time building out their equipment. And I'm the first one to say, what are you doing? You don't have to do that anymore. You can do a podcast on an iPhone if you have good content. It does not matter. People do it on scratchy telephones, you know, analog phones, you know, on conference lines. And because they have good content, doesn't matter. So I agree with you completely. I also agree with you that the fear will stop you. But, you know, fear as God, this has been going on for 50, 80 years now. False evidence appearing real. You know, that's the fact of life. But my point is this: just because you can figure out all the equipment, that you can get all that going, just because you can do all that, does not mean you know how to make it into a business. I will tell you, if you're ready to go, if you've got the equipment, if you've got the product, if you know how to do it all, and you know how to convert, it's almost automatic for you. Almost automatic, because you can't hold yourself back. What happens is you start talking about stuff. I'm launching a mastermind right now. I can't even hold myself back. It's so ridiculous. You want to hear how I'm launching my mastermind? How I do it?
Sure.
Here's how I do it. One day I want to do a mastermind. Why not? I feel like it. We'll do a mastermind. So my wife's like, well, you're going to launch it? How are you going to do it? Actually, it started as a product. I said, I don't want to do a product. I don't want to make a product. I want to talk with cool people. I want people that have some money, people that have a prosperity consciousness, people that really like to get up and have fun. I want to do that. And so I said, better figure this one out. And so, I don't know, about 2 hours before I recorded my podcast, I said, wait a second, I want to start it this week. So I put a promo out on my podcast. I said, a little interview kind of thing. And basically it said, coming in September, become the person you were meant to be, that kind of thing. Well, boom, the email fires off. And people start sending me emails. I mean, it's launched. I don't even know what I'm calling it. Don't even know what I'm charging for it yet. So today I'm sitting here just before my podcast. I said, darn it, I guess I need a landing page. What am I going to call this darn thing? So I made up a name, and I'm on ClickFunnels. I went and put together a landing page and all that stuff and got some people to help me with that. Just done. And then I'm going, I guess I need an email. Okay, into Infusionsoft, let's make an email. Okay, that's good enough. Oh, I have to schedule the teleconference. Well, I don't want to do a webinar. Why? Because I got to work at that. Let's just do a teleseminar. Let's just do that. It's easier. So that's going to be September 1st at 9 p.m. So what will happen is I'll go out on the podcast. I'll mail, talk to my however many people download in that amount of time, about 200,000 or 300,000 probably. And then I'll send out to an email list of 25 or 30,000, and I'll do a free teleseminar with the full expectation that only about 20 people are going to join me in this project. And I'm going to charge, it's going to be cheap going in the door. Eventually, by the end of the year, it'll be $997 a month. I'm going to probably go in at about $497 right now. So if I pull 20 people at $497 a month, and what have I done? I just thought of an idea and got my butt to do it. Now, the reality of this, and this is where we get back to what we're talking about, is I had to get myself to do it for sure. But I also had the ability to come up with the idea. I had the mechanism. I had the knowledge to make the promos. We have the systems already in place and already configured, and the APIs are already there. We're just basically tossing pages in there. I get there fast, literally set it up in probably less than 3 hours. 3 hours. And that's going to put a big income stream in my pocket. And what that happens, and now look what we've done. We take a mastermind group like that, which will probably be maybe 3 hours a month of my time on the phone. That's going to bring in that kind of money, and that allows me to pull back from some of the individual coaching and consulting I'm doing, because now it's not hours for dollars anymore. It's leveraged. So so we're on the same page here. So I guess it comes down to being able to pull together what you need. You understand all the pieces to the puzzle. You know how to monetize it from a marketing and sales funnel standpoint, and you can get your butt off the couch and go do it. You do that, you can. Most people don't make money because they're lazy. They're lazy. I've got in the network marketing world that I'm in right now, I cannot get people to make phone calls. I'm like, guys, are you serious? I bought a $100,000 motorhome off my network marketing money, and you know what I did? I just made a few phone calls every single day, just 2 or 3. And it just adds up and it makes money. And people say, oh, yeah, you got a podcast. No, I looked through my phone. I called people. Hey, I'm into this. You want to do it? Yes or no? A lot of them said yes. Boom, motorhome. That's how you make money. And so you start putting these attitudes together. And that's why a lot of the coaching that I do is just that. It's like I literally tell lately the past couple of weeks, we had a lot of clients having trouble with money. And I said, okay, rule number 1. I'll ask you, Alex, what's the reason that we're in business?
Well, the reason to be in business for me is it's to be able to control my own life in a way, to control my own time, to control.
Okay, I'll give you that, but that's not the reason. What's the reason?
That's not the reason. Well, to make money,
boom,
of course.
That's it, period. Otherwise, it's a hobby. It's personal, and hobbies cost you money. Business makes you money, right? You ought to see my hobbies, man. They cost me a fortune. I fly airplanes. I do all that stuff. If I didn't have business to make me money, I'd have no hobbies. That's all there is to it. Most people, when they do a podcast, they think they're in business. They're doing it for a hobby. That's why it's costing them money.
Yeah.
That's why they're complaining about $5 a month of hosting fees. So the reason we're in business is to make money. Get over it, guys. That's it. People, it's always going to be this way. People was, oh, you're all about the money. You're damn right I am. How about you? I got to pay my bills. And so, what happens is it's all about making the money. That's why we're in business. So you just have to wrap your head around that. And once you get there, then you get to do the good. Then you get the time freedom that you want to have, that you're talking about. Then you get everything. Listen, man, I paid the price the past year. I used to have ultimate time freedom. My mom's a lifestyle design guy. Walk my talk every step of the way. And the last year I decided to change course a little bit, elevate myself to, as they say, the next level. And it equated to 60, 70, 80 hours a week for week after week after week. I felt like I was back at being a rookie again, to be honest with you. But I pulled through that about 2 months ago and got I got it over the hump again. I paid the price, and you've got to be willing to pay the price. If you're not willing to pay the price, you do not deserve, you're not justified of the rewards that are coming your way. If you pay the price, you're deserving of every dime and every little minute of time freedom you could ever ask for. You just got to be willing to pay the price. Yes or no, man. Either you will or you won't. And if you won't, don't complain to me because I'm not going to listen to you. I really, truly, if I look at somebody who has all the resources in the world, but they can't get their butt off the couch, then I don't have time to even take your phone call. I'm not going to because it draws my battery down instead of you amping me up. You're amping me up, man, because I see you're going for it. I hope I hope I'm not overrunning here. I just, I get passionate about this stuff, man. I do. It's so simple.
No, it's great and it's so true. And I don't know if you've had that because I don't really know you personally, but I noticed that in my efforts. It all depends on how you act and what you do. If I spend 2 months just sitting in front of the computer and trying to learn about something and not actually doing anything, well, it doesn't lead me anywhere. Yeah, sure, I pick up some knowledge, but it doesn't bring any results at all. You have to take that action, like you said, get off your butt and take action. That's when you're going to see results.
The mind, you've probably heard this if you've studied Tony Robbins, then the mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. Perception is reality. So when you are sitting in front of the computer learning and Googling and all that stuff, yes, you're learning, but the mind actually thinks it's doing. What happens is people sit back and they tend to think that, wow, man, I've been working at this so long and I'm not getting anywhere. Yeah, because you keep going to webinars and teleseminars and all that kind of stuff. Trust me, you don't have to attend very many of these things before you have enough skill to go make money. You don't. So you tend to keep doing that. Now, that having been said, I got to tell you, I don't know anybody, and certainly as I came up through the internet marketing thing and went to all the events around that, I don't know anybody in this business who didn't many times put their hand in their head in their hands and say, when the heck is it? When am I going to know enough to make any money out of this? I did it when I first got started. I did it. I was working really hard for a long time, and I was. Everybody was talking about having high-end clients. Big ticket items. And most coaches. I started out as a life coach and kind of gravitated to entrepreneurial work from there. But most coaches are making $50, $75 an hour, and I was too when I started out. And I cranked it up, and one day I said, I'm charging $1,000 a month. And I booked up at $1,000. I said, okay, I'm charging $2,000 a month. And eventually I got to $5,000 a month for my coaching clients. Now, they're not all the same. There are some people that are doing more personalized life coaching work. They kind of need to break through, clear the clutter, set goals, things like that. And I have less background work. And frankly, what I'm giving people is not directly monetizable. It's very valuable because it's headspace work. But if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to work with you personally to build out funnels and to make some money and to convert and get high conversions and know how to take a webinar and close at 30, 35%, or even do that from the stage. If they want me to do that for them, it's going to cost you a little money, and it's worth every penny because as soon as you get it launched, you're going to make the money back. But until I understood exactly how to do that, until it was a no-brainer, I could just literally say, do this, 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 and this, and it happens. I wasn't worth the money, and I was beating my head against the wall wondering when I would be. It just takes time. You really have to, it's kind of a combination. You have to really go learn, but then you have to apply along the way. And at some point you have to kind of cherry pick the stuff that works. That makes you an expert. And then you communicate that to people and they go, I want what you're having. I want some of that. And that's where the money comes from. And that's, you can kind of spin that back into your podcast as well. Because when you start thinking that way and talking that way, people know you have a certainty. They know you know what you're doing and you can flat out tell them what to do. They'll sit there for an hour and listen to you in a seminar paying you $500. You know full well you got their attention. And, it's funny, an expert, if you ask a real expert a question, they typically don't have a lot of fanfare to the answer. They just give you the answer. Done. Straight answer. If you talk to half the experts online, they spend 20 minutes talking about how they're an expert first. Yeah, that is true. An expert just goes right to the point. And typically the guys that hire me, they don't, and anybody you talk to, they'll tell you that the higher end the client, the less time they spend with you and the less hassle they are. Because they get on the phone, and many times, this happens to me every week, somebody will say, okay, I'm done. I got what I need. I had to see you. And they're gone in 15 minutes. Like, what? I still got 45 minutes. What am I going to do now? I said, go have fun. So, it's a mindset, and you work up to it. And once you get to that point, like I said, I don't have all $5,000 clients, and oftentimes I'll work for free for the right people. Although, that usually doesn't work out so well. They usually implode all by themselves, and I go, not going to do that anymore. Yeah. You got to pay the price, man. You got to have some skin in the game.
Yeah. Great stuff, Scott. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That's a lot of information to process, and I think I'll have to re-listen to this very episode of this podcast at least 3 times.
Plus, I talk like 3 times as fast as anybody else. So,
so it's a lot. It's a lot of great information, though. So thanks.
I appreciate it. I hope it serves you, and like get on it, man. Get out there and do it. And everybody else, take it and run with it, and take what you can from it.
Yeah, really great stuff, Scott. I have one more question for you. And this is a good one. Usually, the question is, what would be your most important and biggest suggestion to any beginner entrepreneur? That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of ways to go. Beginner entrepreneur.
Let's say someone who's just thinking of starting a business. They're really serious about it. They said, okay, I'm going to start a business. What is the most important thing that they should pay attention to, or the most important character trait that they should pay attention to, or something of that sort?
I think once you figure out what you want to do, so I'm going to give you a prelude here. I think get clear on what you want to do, get that exciting idea, come to the conclusion that you can do it, and that it's realistic. I mean, it's amazing what kind of businesses people choose to start, and you're like, really? What are you doing that for? I mean, really look at it and make sure it's something you're going to do and going to enjoy. And I don't care what it is. It could, you could be raising, alpacas on a farm somewhere. It doesn't matter to me. But once you know what you want to do, once you understand it's there, you got to get your hair on fire, man. You got to build a big why. And we hear this a lot. Simon Sinek, is that his last name, I think? But you got to know your why. And here's why you got to know your why. Once you get your hair lit on fire, and most would-be entrepreneurs have their hair lit on fire, they're like, go, I'm going to do this thing, and they get going out there. They get themselves into action. Then the arrows start flying. Then the Indians come out and start shooting you in the back of arrows. You can't do that. And they start shooting you. And you're like, well, what am I going to do? I thought it was going to work. I'm running out of money. My wife is screaming at me. I don't get any sleep anymore. If you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you're not going to go through all of that. You're just not going to do it. You're going to give up and you're going to sleep in. It's not going to work. So if I were to break it down, know your why, understand which direction you're going, jump in it, and go full force as quick as you can as if your life depends on it, and sell before you do anything else. Sell. Because there is not one problem in the world that can't be fixed by cash flow. Not one. Sell. There's a book, and I'll wrap it up on this because I'm going on. You asked for one answer. I'm giving you a book here. Long time ago, Ready, Fire, Aim. Michael Masterson wrote it.
Yes,
I know it. You know what his theory is of how you actually make money? Find one thing that people will buy from you, and then go find more people to buy it. That's it.
Yeah.
Keep doing that till you get $1 million. Just keep going. And then after that, you can add thing number 2 in. It's simple. But people, listen, people get bored. So there's the beginning of a book there at the end when you ask for one simple sentence. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all great. And just one thing that you mentioned, it made me remember a movie. I think it's a Serbian movie. It's called Black Cat, White Cat. And there's this scene when this mafia guy, he's saying, you know what Bulgarians say? If you can't solve a problem with money, then solve it with more money.
Yeah. Well, it's true, and it's not a bad thing, and it can go. I mean, somebody the other day, I was working out, and we talked about money, and this lady says money is the root of all evil. I said, no, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah,
making money's fine. Making money's great, and go make money and do some good. It's I'll tell you what, the world goes around with the money. We have a philosophy here of spending. We like to spend money. I would consider myself a ridiculously wealthy guy, but I do okay. And I spend it. I mean, I get out there and I spread the money around. I tip really well. I try to do it. My wife will say, what are you spending so much money for? I said, if you don't keep it flowing, no more is going to come to me. And so you can only flow it out if you get it to flow in. That's all. So, in the beginning, you sit down, you get serious, you just start selling, you stay motivated, you stay inspired, you do whatever it takes. And it's different for everybody, man. And once you find your groove and you see it happening, you just got to keep pushing. And one last thing, I just going to put in here. You don't need to know nearly as much as you think you do. Turn off the internet. Stop listening to the experts. Don't pay attention to them. Once you got enough that that I can do this, if I did this, and this, I'll make money. Don't listen to anybody else. Because guess what? Everybody online is trying to sell you something. And part of selling you something is convincing you that you need it, that you don't know what they have. And so that puts you in this perpetual loop of saying, well, I got to have that, or that's why I'm not succeeding. At some point, that's true. But at another point along your path, you know everything you need to know. It doesn't take much, man. I can make money this afternoon. All I got to do is bang on my next door neighbor and say, for $100, I'll pressure wash your driveway. What do you think about that? It's pretty easy, right? The only complication is getting gas. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, great stuff, man. Thank you so much for explaining that. And before you go, one last thing, I would like you to share ways that people could get in touch with you or find out more about your business and what is that you do, and maybe sign up to your trainings.
Yeah, the place we always tell people to go is go to iTunes and search Daily Boost Podcast, and we're going to be right there at the top all the time. Go get that. Listen to it. It's free 5 days a week, and there's a great information. We don't hold back. Now, it is more personal development oriented. There's not a lot of business stuff on there, although sometimes I do slip it in. I tend to make it both ways. I will find, like, goal setting, I'll relate it to both people, things like that. We also, if you're looking for a fun show, actually my most popular show is on Saturday. I do it with my wife. It's called Husband and Wife Talking Life. And it's just kind of a fun show. So you get a lot of insight about what we think, how we run our lives, and how we try to go for an abundant and prosperous life. That's the easiest place to get some good info. Head off to motivationtomove.com. You'll see some of the programs I offer there. There's a contact page there as well that you can shoot me a note if you'd like to. Whatever I can do for you, just let me know, and that's the easiest way to find me.
All right, Scott. Thank you so much for being on the show. A wealth of information that I got today, and I hope the listeners got that feeling as well. Really awesome stuff. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. As usual, I will be posting show notes at extrapodcast.com/22. This is where you'll be able to find all the links and resources mentioned in today's episode. If you head over to extrapodcast.com/iTunes, you'll be able to subscribe to the show, rate it, and review it. Or you could simply go to iTunes Store and search for Extra Paycheck Podcast in order to subscribe to the show. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you next Monday.